The first time Diane Caldwell blew through my ranch gate like it was her personal driveway, I didn't even have time to shout before my cattle spooked and surged 600 pounds of muscle moving like a wave. Dust filled my mouth, my heart slammed against my ribs, and I caught the flash of her white BMW disappearing down my private road. And in that moment, I realized something ugly. This wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a takeover. My name's Bill Oxley, and my family ranch sits outside Redstone County, Texas, 50 acres of scrub mesquite and hard-earned peace. I'm not a flashy guy, I don't do drama, and I sure as hell don't go looking for fights, but I know boundaries. Out here lines matter, fences matter, gates matter. The problem was Cedar Ridge Estates, the brand new neighborhood that popped up on the other side of my property like a shiny toy someone dropped in the dirt. They had manicured lawns, stone mailboxes, little walking trails, and a homeowners association, an HOA so proud of itself you'd think it was a government agency. And running that HOA was Diane Caldwell. You know the type, perfect, blowout, oversized sunglasses, voice like a knife wrapped in honey? She didn't walk anywhere she arrived, and everything she did came with that look like the world owed her an apology. The dirt road that cuts across my ranch has been there for decades. It's not public. It's not shared access. It's not some quaint little country shortcut for people who bought a house 2 months ago and suddenly think they own the horizon. It's mine private property marked gated and posted. Diane didn't care. The first time I confronted her, she rolled down her window just enough to let the air conditioning and attitude spill out. "Oh, honey," she said, smiling, like we were old friends, "this road has been public access forever." I stepped closer and pointed at the sign big as day, private property. No trespassing. Her smile didn't move. "Well, bless your heart," she said, like she was patting a dog. "We'll just see about that." I stood there watching her drive away and felt that slow burn in my chest, the kind that doesn't go away after a shower or a beer. It sits there, steady, waiting. The next morning she came through again. I was moving cattle, slow, careful work, when her BMW shot through the gate and honked like she was clearing traffic. My herd jumped scattered, and one of my steers swung his head so fast I heard the air crack. I ran into the road and threw up my hand. She didn't stop, she just slowed enough to lean out and snap. "Get out of the way. This is a community access road." Community. That word hit me like a slap because what she really meant was, what's mine should be theirs because they have money and an HOA letterhead. I tried to do it the nice way first. I replaced the sign. I reinforced the gate. I wrote a formal notice and taped it where she couldn't miss it. I even called the non-emergency line and asked what my options were if someone kept trespassing. The deputy sounded tired. "Sir, you can file reports," he said, "but unless we catch her in the act." "She does it every day," I said. "Then document it," he replied. So I did. But Diane escalated. A week later, a guy in a button-down showed up at my door holding a packet like it was a birthday card. "You've been served," he said, and handed me paperwork from Cedar Ridge Homeowners Association. They were suing me. They claimed my road was a prescriptive easement. They claimed homeowners had historic access. They claimed I was interfering with community safety and welfare. The words were polished and expensive, the kind of language people use when they want to steal something and sleep at night. I read it twice, then a third time, and my hands started shaking, not because I was scared of a fight, but because I could feel the machine behind her. A whole board, a whole neighborhood, a whole stack of money ready to crush me until I got tired and gave up. And that's the thing nobody tells you about an HOA. It's not just busybodies and lawn rules, it's a system built for pressure letters, fines, lawyers, meetings, threats. Death by paperwork. Diane started driving through even more after the lawsuit. Sometimes she had passengers. Sometimes she'd slow down near my fence like she was sightseeing. Once, I swear, she held her phone up and laughed like she was filming me for entertainment. Meanwhile, I was the one paying for the fallout. My cattle got skittish. One gate latch snapped. A section of fence sagged where a truck had bumped it, and every time I heard that BMW engine, my stomach tightened like I was bracing for impact. At night, I'd lie awake listening for tires on gravel. I'd stare at the ceiling and do math. I didn't want to do lawyer fees, repairs, lost work hours. I'd picture my wife Megan standing at the kitchen counter, trying not to look worried because she knew I was already carrying too much. And then came the moment I hate admitting. One evening after a long day, I sat on the porch steps with my boots still on and my head in my hands. The sky was turning that soft Texas purple, and for the first time the thought slipped in quiet but sharp. Maybe I'm being stubborn. Maybe it's just a road. Maybe I should let them have it. I didn't say it out loud at first. I just sat there feeling the weight of it, this pressure to be reasonable, to not be the loud one, to not be the guy making trouble. But Megan came out, set a glass of water beside me, and waited. She didn't push. She didn't lecture. She just sat. And after a minute I muttered, "What if I'm wrong? What if I'm making this bigger than it needs to be?" She looked at me and said, calm as sunrise, "Bill, they're not asking. They're taking." That sentence landed in my chest like a hammer, because she was right. If I gave them this road, it wouldn't stop. It would become their land, their rules, their access, and every time they wanted more, Diane would show up with that smile and those papers and that same message, "Move, or we'll move you." That night I made a choice. Not a loud choice, not a vengeful one, a clear one. I was done being polite while someone stole from me. The next morning I started documenting everything like a prosecutor. I installed cameras high enough to catch plates, wide enough to catch faces. I kept a written log, date, time, vehicle direction, speed horn. I saved every HOA letter, every email, every threatening voicemail Diane left after I refused to meet like adults. And then a friend of mine, Lisa Morgan, a local realtor, called me and said, "Bill, I need to tell you something." Her voice was low, like she didn't want the wrong person to hear. "Diane's been telling buyers that Cedar Ridge has exclusive ranch road access," Lisa said. "She's using your road as a selling point." I went quiet, because suddenly this wasn't about convenience. It was about money, property value, control, marketing. Diane wasn't just entitled, she was running a scheme. I hired a lawyer too, Tom Harlan, a local guy with weathered hands and a mind like a bear trap. He didn't flinch when I showed him the lawsuit. He didn't nod politely. He got angry. "Let's pull the development records," he said. "Let's see what they signed and what they're pretending they didn't." A few days later, Tom showed up with a folder and a grin that made my pulse jump. "They're bluffing," he said. Buried in the original Cedar Ridge filings was a clause acknowledging the ranch road as private with no guaranteed access. It was right there, black and white, signed before Diane ever became queen of the cul-de-sac. The twist wasn't just that she was wrong. It was that she knew she was wrong. She was hoping I'd fold before anyone looked closely. And now I wasn't folding. I hired a contractor named Ray Dawson, a man built like a fence post and twice as stubborn. I told him I don't want a prettier gate. I want a permanent answer. Ray squinted toward the road, spat in the dirt, and said, "You want a fortress?" "Yeah," I replied. "I want a fortress." We poured concrete. We set steel. We dug deep footings that weren't going anywhere. We installed a solid new gate with reinforced posts and a keypad that didn't care how expensive your sunglasses were. When Diane saw the construction, she showed up like a storm. She marched up in white pants and a pristine blouse, waving a clipboard like a weapon. "Stop this illegal construction immediately," she screamed. "You can't block community access." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "Diane," I said, "you are trespassing. Again." Her face tightened. "I am the president of the Cedar Ridge Homeowners Association. And I am the owner of this land," I said steady. "That title doesn't outrank a deed." She leaned in and hissed, "This isn't over." I looked her in the eye and said, "It actually is. You just haven't accepted it yet." A day before the wall was finished, Diane came alone. No clipboard, no entourage, just her standing near my gate like she was about to make me an offer I couldn't refuse. "Bill," she said softly, "we can settle this. I can offer you $25,000 for a permanent easement." I almost laughed because that number wasn't a settlement. It was a bribe dressed up in perfume. "I'm not selling my rights," I said. She tilted her head. "50,000. No. 75, she said, voice tightening, the mask slipping. "Do you really want to drag this out? Do you really want to be the villain to an entire community?" I stared at her for a long second and felt something calm settle over me. "My property rights aren't for sale at any price," I said. "And I'm not your villain. I'm just the first person who told you no." Her eyes went cold. "You'll regret this." She turned and walked away, heels clicking like a countdown. And then came the night that proved exactly who she was. It was around 3 a.m. when my phone buzzed camera alert. I sat up fast, heart already racing, and pulled up the live feed. There she was, The white BMW headlights slicing through the dark lined up with my new gate like a battering ram. For a split second I thought she'd stop because nobody would be crazy enough to, but she hit the gas. The engine screamed, tires tore at gravel, and then impact. A metallic boom cracked through the night loud enough I felt it in my chest even through a screen. The BMW crumpled hood folding like paper and the gate didn't move. It held. Diane stumbled out hair wild, shouting into the empty air like the world had betrayed her. She slammed her hands against the steel, tried to yank it, tried to shake it, like if she threw enough tantrum at physics, it would apologize. I grabbed my keys and drove down, staying back, keeping my distance. My floodlights lit the scene like a stage. She saw me and screamed, "You did this. You set me up. This is assault." I didn't say a word. I just pointed up at the camera. And that's when the red and blue lights appeared at the end of the road. A sheriff's unit rolled in slow headlights, sweeping over the wreckage. The deputy stepped out, took one look at the damage, then looked at Diane. "Ma'am," he said, "is this your vehicle?" Diane opened her mouth, ready to spin a story. But the camera footage was already saved. The logs were already written. The development records were already pulled. The bluff was already dead. The deputy's voice stayed calm. "Turn around," he said. "Hands behind your back." Diane's face twisted shock rage, disbelief, like she couldn't process that consequences applied to her. The cuffs clicked shut with a sound so clean and final it felt like silence. I stood there on my land, breathing in cold air and dust, feeling my pulse slow for the first time in weeks. No cheering, no victory speech. Just the reality that the person who tried to bulldoze me finally hit something that wouldn't move. And the lesson is simple, because it always is. If you don't defend your boundaries, someone else will redraw them for you.